Pennsylvania Congressman Guy Reschenthaler. And Congressman, you know, I went over, Steve and I talked about some of these key areas where Americans are feeling pain, mostly as a consequence of free money and high tax policies. For many, though, the costliest thing has been keeping up on electricity, and everyone's worried about this winter, right? Electric companies like Con Edison already warning their customers to brace. Do you and your colleagues rather, really believe in the green agenda so much, this green utopia so much, they're willing to watch this happen this winter?
Well, Charles, first off, thanks for having me on as always, and please just call me Guy. As far as my colleagues, those who believe in the Green New Deal and this farce, my Democratic colleagues believe in it. The Republicans do not, and here's why. We Republicans know that the Green New Deal is just backdoor socialism. It's also a way to try to attack American, I would say, ingenuity and our economic system. And here's why. It's because you're putting pressure on the oil and gas companies, natural gas companies, coal, et cetera, which makes it cheaper to manufacture here in the United States, while you're insisting on things like wind, solar. All of that is controlled by China because China controls the rare earth elements that are needed to make those. So as we're pursuing this fantasy of the Green New Deal and solar and wind, the Chinese are bringing coal-fired power plants online, making it much less expensive for them to manufacture, which hurts our manufacturing base and our economy as a whole.
Yeah, and they're building more nuclear power plants, right? They're just, you know, it's so funny. I've heard politicians in America say all of the above. They're doing all of the above and will dominate all of the above. And we're going to transition from being energy independent to hoping that China never decides not to sell us solar panels. Let me ask you about the Federal Reserve, because it's the only central bank in the world with a dual mandate, right? And in fact, let's face it, they've got so many mandates. Their power grows almost exponentially. Congress is supposed to have some sort of say over the Federal Reserve. Is it too late to curb them? Because I think their omnipotence is really hurting Americans.
I would tend to agree with that, Charles. And what we have to do is we have to make sure we don't give them more authority. So, for example, the Democrats are trying to have them institute ESG within their parameters, and look out for things that have nothing to do with their core mission of inflation and unemployment numbers. So that's a problem. So we need to play defense right now, make sure that the Democrats don't give them more authority to cram down this ESG agenda.
Guy, I got less than a minute to go, but now that the nation is paying attention, really close attention to the crisis at the border, you know, people being lured to this country, making these treks, sometimes it's 1,000 miles on foot through harsh terrain, paying coyotes, fighting off cartels, and then ending up in a dump like Martha's Vineyard. Can we spark some action now from Congress?
Well, I think I love the fact that Ron DeSantis called the woke yuppies, the affluent who live in these nice neighborhoods, who put the sign in their yard saying all are welcome. Yet as soon as they get two planefuls of illegal immigrants, now it's a crisis. So welcome to what the border towns have been facing for the last 2 years under the Biden administration. So I find it absolutely hypocritical that now people in D.C. and Martha's Vineyard have an issue with it. But the real cost of this, Charles, is the human suffering, because these illegal immigrants, when they come across, they're victimized on the trek up, and then they become basically indentured servants when they're here. So if you really care about these people, which we Republicans do, you wouldn't want them to make the journey in the first place. You would you would want them to come across legally. But yeah, thanks, Charles.
No, we need to reform the system. But, you know, this notion that somehow you're a sanctuary city, you send out to the world, come on in, the borders are open. And when they show up at your front door, it's a tragedy. I mean, this is despicable. Congressman, thank you very much.